Hi, my name is Georgina Pazcoguin, and I'm the co-founder of Final Bow for Yellowface. And today we want to welcome you to What's the Tea? And we have as our special guest, Kristie Latham. And this whole project is a daily conversation with a dancer of Asian American heritage to celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month, which is the month of May. And to highlight the achievements and experiences of Asians in dance. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, here.
Before we get any further into like the Q&A section, do you have a charity beyond BalletMet's like Dancers Relief Fund that you'd like to highlight today in case there are some people out there who feel super generous and want to donate to Kristie's cause?
No, right now it's just just BalletMet's relief fund. Yeah.
Great. Actually, I probably should I have used your married name now?
No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. No, I'm like
Your stage name?
Yeah. I'm like I built this with this name, so.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's just jump in. Like, what are you missing right now? I know we just kind of touched on it before we hit the record button, but can you explain to our viewers, like, what are some of your favorite works to dance? Like, what particularly is hitting you hard in this moment that is the pandemic situation?
I think definitely just going to work and being around my coworkers every day. I'm really fortunate to work in a small company, so we're all homies. So I miss being around them, and obviously just rehearsing. That's my favorite part about what we do, is going into the studio and like working together and building something that we all have like equally invested in on stage. In terms of favorite ballets to perform, I'm like right now I just would literally do anything. I feel especially attached to the ballet that we weren't able to put on stage, which was Gustavo Ramirez Cinzano's Carmen Maquia. We did it for the first time like 5 years ago, and his choreography just speaks to me at such like a deeper level, in that it's just so unique compared to other dances that we do. It's like more minimal, and I feel like it's more it like really digs deep into like human emotion, so it's not as showy as like putting on a pair of pointe shoes and creating beautiful lines and shapes. It's in socks, it's in like an all completely naked stage essentially. So I just think it's really interesting. And I was really excited to do it again, because the first time it was just so hard for me to kind of shift my mind to like interpret a completely different language in dance. And so it felt really good to kind of revisit that. So that one definitely stands out most in my mind right now.
I feel like it was almost like, it seems like timing wise that you would have just arrived, sort of, you would have been still newish at BalletMet's, so I can understand that revisiting something now that you've like settled in, you have your roots firmly planted, and like how good that feels to revisit something. I know whenever we visit West Side Story, it's like a chance to like reflect upon a time in your life where it was such a wonderful memory, but then to also infuse it with everything you've learned since. And I promise that chance will come. And I get you. I get it too. Like it's not, we work so hard as dancers, and like, I love the rehearsal process. And I find that it's like, it's a ritual in a sense, and it's a way for us to like work through our emotions. I always felt like when I was injured, we were just talking about how like ACL surgery, I had some really painful personal things happen, and I couldn't dance. Like I couldn't physically dance. And so this feels like another sort of like, yes, I miss the stage, but at least if I really need to, I can put on a jam and go party in the lawn.
Right.
Like, like dancing is our expression. So I totally resonate with that. You want to be with your homies.
Yeah.
So tell us, I know a little bit, but for the people who are just tuning in and just getting to meet you, you lovely creature, what made you start dancing?
So I was a really hyperactive kid. my poor parents. I mean, I've seen videos of myself as a child, and I was like, I'd abandon you, but I was like bouncing off the walls all the time. So I was in soccer, I was in gymnastics, I was in swimming, I did piano lessons, I did, you know, every activity that they could think of, but I also didn't want to do anything. So I quit everything. I quit soccer, I quit piano, I quit gymnastics, I quit swimming, and ballet was the last thing on the list. And so I wanted to quit ballet too, because I didn't like the discipline aspect of it. My parents were like, no, you have to see one thing through. And I was determined to quit that too. I have this like vivid memory where I was like laying on the sidewalk outside the studio crying because I didn't want to go in. But I get my stubbornness from my mom, so she won that battle, and I went into class. And I think after that I learned that I couldn't fight my parents if they wanted me to continue that commitment. And then I want to say it was maybe like a year later, we had Irina from ABT. She guested as our Sugar Plum Fairy, and that was my first Nutcracker. And so I was like the smallest angel, and you get like a cue from the Sugar Plum Fairy, and she winked at me, and I was like, so, I mean, how can you not be enamored by her, right? And I think it was just when I finally got to see like a professional ballet dancer, and obviously one of her caliber, I was like, okay, like that's what I want to be. And then kind of from there on out, I just worked my butt off.
I love that. Also, like Irina is such a hoot. I love getting coached by her. I just adore that woman to the moon and back. Right. So what? Okay, so that's when you like were like, I have to do this. But like, when did it click in? Was it your parents that like clicked into the fact that like this could actually be attainable as like a profession for you, or was it something that you had recognized? Because like you said, like I think it's so fascinating that you wanted to quit, and now it's like you chose the hardest profession to succeed and you're doing so well. Like, well, where did that switch come? Where did that 180 come?
Well, I mean, it was a winding road for me, because so then I made it through high school, and I think like just the toxic aspects of the ballet world started to weigh in on me. I was very accomplish based. Like the things that motivated me weren't because I loved to dance. It was, oh, like I'll get this pat on the back if I get into this school, or if I get a scholarship, or if I do well in this competition. And so after my senior year, I had surgery, and I couldn't come back at the same level I was dancing at when I left. And I just felt, I guess, very like emotionally tired, because all the things that were gratifying me, I couldn't do. Mm-hmm. So then I quit again. So I quit dancing when I was 17, and I went to the University of South Carolina for a year. And I studied broadcast journalism. And then I was also dancing. I was so lucky that I got a partial scholarship just to perform with them, so I didn't have to major or minor in dance. I was just rehearsing with them, which was really awesome. Like sometimes I think like, wow, I should have just gotten my degree and stayed there a little longer. But then I miss dancing. I think it was important for me to have that year and a half away from dance, because I had to figure out why I was doing it, and what it meant to me, regardless of anybody else's opinion.
Yeah, external circumstances or like forced like thoughts. Okay, so you're just banging these questions out. So can you explain to our viewers like your ethnic and cultural heritage, mm-hmm. and to what degree you're connected to it?
Yes. So I'm half Korean, I'm half American. My parents met when my dad was stationed in Korea in the Army. And unfortunately, I'm not super connected to my cultural heritage, because neither side of the family was that supportive of my parents' interracial marriage, which is so crazy for me to think about now, but that was such a real thing for so many couples at the time of my parents' generation. And so when my mom moved to the States, like she faced so many difficulties that of like being accepted, that didn't she like her identifier was, okay, people aren't accepting me because I immigrated here from Korea, so I'm just going to try to make my kids as American as possible, and maybe they won't experience some of like the heartbreak that she did when she came here. And so it's heavy. And I think now my husband and I, we were supposed to go to Korea this summer, but we'll reschedule for another time. And I think now I just, as an adult and kind of being the age that my mom was when she came here, and just at this point in my life, I'm super interested in learning more now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you and I think we get along for many different reasons, but I think like I also resonate with your parents' side. Just like my dad didn't teach me any Tagalog. I don't speak any Filipino, and he did experience a lot of bias when he came over to finish his studies to become a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when he realized the fact that like his children could pass and be raised in a white trajectory,
Mm-hmm.
he went for it. And then, and also something I learned through um, just speaking to other Asian American that I had met once I got to New York City, more so, like I didn't realize that it for a man, like for his children not to speak his home language, that was the sign of like great success. So
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering if I wonder if your mom kind of felt the same way, or if she just or she feels like, she didn't even have a choice in that matter, because it's, there's differing between male and female experience for sure.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, that's wonderful. And it seems like your parents really, they supported you in your dance, like they wanted you to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, they were really amazing throughout the whole process. I think, especially because I was like very flighty about what I wanted to do and whether I wanted to dance.
Mhm.
They always encouraged me to keep pursuing it. I mean, they also encouraged me to consider doing other things as well. I mean, because when I met you, I had been auditioning for 3 years and hadn't gotten a job that I enjoyed. Um, and they were like, aren't, okay, maybe consider going to school and having a backup plan, which I'm really grateful that they encouraged me to pursue different things as well, that wasn't the only thing that I could do, even if I felt that way.
Right. But I think it's almost like when they were adamant in getting you into the classes when you were a little kid, but then when it became time to be an adult, it seemed like they kind of eased off a little bit, and then they like knew their chicken in a sense, as Mara would say, that like you were going to have to like fall in love with it yourself and like
Mm-hmm.
independently, like you're
Yeah.
such an independent spirit to like, oh, I choose this after all.
Yeah.
Um, do you like, would you, like, I hope not, but if you have any experiences with dealing with Yellowface in ballet, would you feel comfortable sharing something along the lines?
Yeah. So I think it all stems from why you guys started this, right?
Yeah.
It's so funny, like you said, like being an Asian American and growing up in the Nutcracker and doing so many different versions and watching this like caricature be performed on stage. And so I just think it's amazing that we're having these conversations because they're so important. But luckily, other than that, in my limited experience, that's really been most of it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. But it seems like clearly you were very impacted by the experiences in real life that your mother had, because I
Mm-hmm.
can see it in your face. Like it's like it's hurtful to see what your mom had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like now we're at the question, we're at the ultimate question. What advice would you have for like young dancers who wanted to have a career in this profession?
I think, especially kind of speaking to my whole journey, it's remembering why you want to dance. Um, and what you enjoy about doing that. So for me now, I really appreciate being a vessel in this art form, and educating our communities and having them like do insight, really thoughtful conversations that need to be shared. I don't think that I think the world needs art more now than ever. So that, and just not to get caught up in all the viral culture that's happening right now around. I love Instagram in that, like, for example, I haven't seen you in so many years, but I love seeing what you're up to. I love being updated, especially in the dance world. So many of your friends don't live where you are. And so I think it's a great way of staying connected with people, but I also think it can be toxic in that, how many pirouettes you can do or how many likes you get on different platforms, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. I think it can really taint the, the motivation
Right.
of how you dance.
Right.
And then on top of that, I think it's important to work hard, and remember that so much of art in general is subjective. Like I said, I auditioned for like 4 years. I mean, I've been at my company for 7 years now, but before that, it was really hard for me to find the right fit. And so I think it's also important to do your research, to get yourself in front of as many directors as you can, to have good connections with your teachers, reach out to mentors. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and to have balance, because this career is so short. It's so crazy. Like, you spend your entire life living, breathing, eating, all for this art form. And then you get to my age and you're like, wow, okay, I'm nearing the end. And life is very long. So I think it's important to just have balance and pursue other passions.
Yeah, perspectives is really helpful in that plight. And like, did you think you could elaborate a little bit more as to like, what is it about BalletMet that felt like a good place for you to settle in?
Mm-hmm. So I love the versatility of the work that we do. We do full length classical ballets, we do balancing ballets, we do very contemporary work, we do a lot of new work. Like this year, we did Ulysses Stubbs' Red Angels. We did a new work with Annabelle Lopez-Ochoa. We did Ekman's Cacti. We do so many different kinds of work, and I think that's really good for someone like me, in that if I I enjoy branching out. It's, if I stay centered in one place, it almost like becomes an obsession, and I also feel like I become a better dancer when I'm working within so many different vocabularies, because your sensitivities for different movement changes maybe how you move classically for
Yeah.
for better. Um, and I like so many of my like best friends work here, which is which is awesome.
Is that before? Does that just like happen? Or it's like you paved the way and people just kind of follow?
It's funny. Well, so like one of my closest friends, we danced together in another company, and then she came here. And then beyond that, it just happened that people I hadn't necessarily met before came here, and we just have like such a close bond outside of dance.
Mm-hmm.
So many, like, our company just works really, really hard, and it's a generally super supportive environment. And that's just really, really nice to be in. And so I think that's why I've stayed here so long, because it's home, and Columbus is very livable. And my husband is from here. So
Lovely.
it's the work-life balance for me, that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I can sense it, because like when I met you were like, we had fun with BalletMet's, but I could sense like there was like a yearning of trying to, and New York City is not the place for everyone. And even so, like I'm going on like nearing 20 years being there, and I'm kind of like reaching my max, being like, okay, what's next? But I do need some sort of balance. So it's your trajectory and how wonderful, like you've always had a greater sense of self, whether you thought you did or not, like you act upon that. And so I find that wonderfully courageous and just so far ahead of the game already in terms of, you know, finding like dancing for the right reasons and keeping your head on straight. And it's like I'm struggling too right now with, like, you know, the Instagram, like all of that. Like we're performers and we want to perform, but at the same time I find myself like I can shut off the world and I can be very introverted. I really respect my privacy and my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
and and to see people like posting, like it's not just about tricks. And I find that like so much of the Instagram life, it subjectifies it, like that's the wrong word. I just totally coined a new word. Hey, it's early. Objectifies. Oh, it objectifies just dancers as like these like alien bodies. And I
Right.
think, and it's so much more. And you bring up such a wonderful point that like dancing in a ballet company and doing these ballets, like we're so much more than just a body.
Right.
We're this wonderful blend of athlete and artist, and our art is so ephemeral. And you know, like, yeah, okay, like you can have that many followers, but like like we got to find a way to like bring people back to the theater when this is all said and done and it's safe to. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess that which brings me to my next question. Like, what do you think we need to do to build like a younger and loyal like audience base to keep dance
Question.
alive?
Yeah. Right. Because, you know, I feel we have to change with the times. So I think it's really interesting that we're in an art form that started off exclusive, you know, and not necessarily inclusive. And so we have to kind of rewrite what like the history of ballet in a way, moving forward. And so kind of going back to the whole Instagram thing, I think things that make people really unhappy with it is when it's egocentric versus creating a community and giving it value. And that's what I love about what Shelby Williams is doing with Biscuit Ballerina, because yes, it's a lot of humor. Yes, it's viral in nature, but she's using that platform to educate young dancers on things, so many different aspects of this career that's important, like mental health. You know, nobody wants to talk about the mental health of a dancer, and so I think that's a really important thing that we're doing moving forward. And the people who do have these viral followings on Instagram, to maybe shift that conversation to not just be, oh, look at, you know, all these beautiful things that I'm doing. Okay, what's going on behind the scenes? Like how can you relate to that? I think it's important to curate more conversations like that and more conversations like these. I also think, I mean, I know a lot of companies do these anyways, but doing a better job of informing your public of your pre-show talks if you have them, and to do like more inclusive pricing on like maybe Thursdays, you know, maybe that's something where, you know, you have beer and wine and it's an hour before the curtain comes up with your director talking about what they're going to see. Because I find that a lot of my friends here in Columbus aren't in the dance world. And they come and support me, but I think a lot of people feel really intimidated by the art form because they don't understand what they're watching. So I think if you educate people so that they can go there and really immerse themselves in this art form because they understand what they're watching. I mean, I don't even know ballet mime, you know, like so a lot
Right.
of it.
I mean, well, it's probably like two things. There's this, and then there's
Right.
who, what, why, where, how. It's the
This
same
might be a king, but this is a prince, you know, like, so I think it's just important to do more like educational, not outreach, but just doing a better job of informing your public on what it is that they're seeing so that they can digest it. Yeah.
Yeah, we did like a school show. I'm gonna ask you what your last performance was on stage, but my last performance was actually my my debut in Tarantella, and it was a school show, and it asked me to do the pre-performance talk, and I was like, what am I, these kids they don't really care about like learning what Tarantella is and what they want to see, they want to be moved by something. And then I think then I had to do some reflection for the first time as to like, why do people fall in love with the ballet? And then I was just like, there are no rules. There are no rules to how you're supposed to understand like your reaction to it. Like you can cry if you want to. You can feel totally elated. I told the kids to clap, and apparently the stagehands got really mad, or the conductor actually got mad at me. In his like in a joking way, but I could tell he actually was a little bit mad. He's like, because the kids like inevitably clap off the music because they don't understand rhythm yet. But like, this isn't it's not like we're being our most professional selves, but it's not gonna make or break life. Like, let these kids enjoy this. And it's Tarantella, for God's sakes. Like, it's fun, it's hard, it's 11 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
Like, distraction. I'm also an old lady. So like, and it just like, I think just the idea, and I would probably give the same speech, like those were from like 6 to 10-year-olds, and I probably would retailer and use bigger language. Like, they don't understand words quite yet, like choreography. But like, I think that's a great way to be like, there's no wrong way to interpret ballet. And you can absolutely hate it. Like, you can, like, to be honest, I don't know if I would go watch ballet if I didn't love it. Like, I didn't know. I don't know if I found like my one true, like, this is what I like. I mean, I personally think ballet full lengths need a total redo.
Oh,
like, we need some like dramaturgs up in here to tell some new stories. And
oh my gosh, for sure.
Like, I think there's so many different ways to look at this and how we can bring in more a younger audience that feels like they're included, not only like ethnically and racially, but just as the society that we are becoming now. I mean, the world is clearly changing. Like, we're all being forced, and who knows what our new normal is going to be after this. And, you know, I do hope that people come back to the theater. But like, how are we going to convince them that A, it's safe, and B, it's worthwhile to take that risk? Like, it is so moving that it's worth it for you to come into an audience member and spray yourself down with antibacterial.
No, so true. I'm going to be interested to see how, you know, being forced to stay home and where you're just like consuming so much media, if that's going to change what you desire to see. Like, if people will be more, you know, when it's safe, if people will be more interested to, you know, go to museums and go to shows than, you know, stay home and watch a movie because you've already watched them all in your 3 months at home. You know? I think it'll be really interesting to see how this pretty much affects everyone's behavior moving forward.
So what was it? What was your last time on stage before the big pause? She's like, I'm moved on.
So we did Edward's Alice, but I hurt myself the week before.
Oh no.
So it should have been that. So I guess my last performance was the Nutcracker. The last show, evening performances, Sugarplum Fairy.
So. Oh my gosh. Well, that's fun. At least you and I was the fairy.
Right.
I hope you're feeling better. Are you feeling okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. And like, are you finding that this time, speaking of Shelby Williams, Biscuit Ballerina, I did a talk with her with Caitlin Addison. And she like asked us what we were doing, and I was just like, you know, like, following my ACL surgery, I'm 35. Like, it's easier for me to keep it moving in some sort of way than to stop like cold turkey. So I've been like trying to take class and bar, and she called me up after, and she was like, I haven't been inspired to take any classes, and like I feel great. And I was like, I feel like you're more in the majority. I feel like most of my professional friends are taking this time to really reset, like body, mind, spirit. So like, what's been your kind of like go-to? Have you been taking class, doing something, or just being like listening to what you need?
It's been on and off. So the first 2 weeks, I didn't do anything. And then the third, or I was only doing Pilates. I found this girl on YouTube who I love, and her classes are really short and she's like very soothing. So I was only doing that. Then we got nice weather and I would start doing bar on our patio outside. Not necessarily I think I was just also running out of things to do within the day. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do bar. Yeah.
This whole thing, I guess I'll put on the boots.
Right, I guess I'll just do that. So I was doing that, but then it got really cold and I don't like fighting with my chair to do bar. So then I stopped taking bar probably last week, and now I do Pilates every day, which is nice, like, because it's enough for me to feel like I did something. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just trying to reset as well. I do some web design, so I've got clients that I'm working with. I'm also trying to do a little bit or learn a little bit more about photography and just like other random creative outlets, because I feel like I still need to be fulfilled by that. But yeah, just kind of taking it easy, and also just waiting for the news on when we're going to go back. So like, there's only so many chair bars I can take.
Hear you.
Not knowing when I'm going to get back into a studio. So I'm like,
yeah,
that I think
yeah, it's a little bit of anxiety. I think it's so interesting that you do web design. Like, how did you, like, where did that come from?
Well, honestly, it came from, we don't get paid enough for me to live a certain lifestyle. So it was like, okay, well, what do I have? Well, also so my mom, she had her own hair care line and hair salon. And she needed help with that. And I was always on MySpace, like changing my template. So I had like a general knowledge of HTML code. So then I think it was my first summer after I joined BalletMet's, and everyone left and went on vacation or they went home, and I was here by myself, and all I had was my computer. So there's so many free resources online. So I just started learning. And then I opened up a shop on Etsy and got a bunch of clients through that. And then I hopped off Etsy, and now I essentially work through referrals still. But it's been really awesome. Like, for example, my husband and I, we eloped to Hawaii, and our wedding planner was one of my clients. So
that's so
like crazy. And our videographer was also one of our clients. So it's just like connected me with so many really amazing small business owners, and that's kind of my retirement plan, just because that's my personality. I'm like, if I don't know what's next, I get very stressed. So
also, like, you have this like beautiful thirst for knowledge, and you're just like this. It's like you let creativity take you, but then you're not afraid to do the work. Like, you did a whole summer and like learned how to do HTML code, and you hear it here first, viewers.
Which, by the way, Codecademy is gifting professional accounts. So it's essentially like you can go on and learn all of HTML, CSS, Java, Python, which is like how to build apps and stuff. And if you fill out an application and say that your job was affected by COVID, they'll give you a free membership for 3 months. So if anyone's interested in kind of exploring if that's what they want to do, their coursework is amazing. Like, you literally have a screen where you're like typing in code and it shows you live what you're doing. So that's a great resource if anyone is interested in kind of exploring other things right now.
And if you have need for a website, clearly Kristie can help you out. I wish I did that. We've totally finished our like questionnaire, so I'm gonna tune us out. Thank you again so much, Kristie, for taking the time. I love seeing your beautiful face. And make sure you check out Instagram at Final Bow for Yellowface. And I do believe that we are also going to end up putting these on a YouTube at some point. So look for that, and tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's Dancers Chat will be, revealed at noon Eastern Standard Time. And Kristie, you're the best.
The best.